Brazil is not just trying to win the 2026 World Cup. They are trying to escape more than 2 decades of disappointment. For most countries, reaching quarterfinals and producing world-class players would be considered success. For Brazil, it feels like failure. The country of Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, Neymar, the country that made football feel like art. But since 2002, Brazil has watched other nations lift the trophy they still believe belongs to them. Germany embarrassed them. Croatia broke them. Argentina became world champions. And now, going into 2026, Brazil is facing a very different kind of question. Do they still have the magic? Or do they finally need something more than magic? Because this Brazil team has talent everywhere. Vinícius Júnior, Casemiro, Endrick, Raphinha, Bruno Guimarães, Marquinhos, Alisson. But for the first time in World Cup history, Brazil will be led by a foreign coach. Carlo Ancelotti, one of the most successful managers football has ever seen. And that makes Brazil one of the most fascinating teams heading into 2026. Because if Ancelotti can turn Brazil's talent into a real team, they may not just be dangerous, they may be terrifying. Every great World Cup team needs stars. But before Brazil can think about goals, flair, and attacking football, they need something more basic: security. And that starts with Alisson Becker. For years, Alisson has been one of the most trusted goalkeepers in world football, not because he makes everything look dramatic, but because he often makes danger disappear before it becomes chaos. His positioning is calm. His reactions are sharp. And with the ball at his feet, he gives Brazil something modern teams desperately need: a goalkeeper who can help build attacks, not just stop them. That matters for Brazil, because this team will want to attack. They will want their fullbacks high. They will want their forwards taking risks. And when you play that way, your goalkeeper cannot just be a shot stopper. He has to be the safety net. Alisson gives Brazil that: experience, calm, and the kind of presence that can save a tournament before anyone even realizes it was in danger. But even with Alisson behind them, Brazil cannot rely on saves alone. If they want to survive the pressure of a World Cup, the defense in front of him has to be strong, disciplined, and experienced. And that brings us to the heart of Brazil's back line. On the left side, Brazil can use Douglas Santos. He may not be the loudest name in this lineup, but that can actually be valuable. Douglas Santos brings experience, discipline, and balance on a side of the pitch where Brazil will need control. Because with so much attacking talent ahead of him, Brazil does not always need a fullback trying to become the star of the show. In the middle, Gabriel gives Brazil something they have badly needed in recent tournaments: power, aggression, and real defensive authority. Gabriel is not the kind of center-back who tries to make defending look pretty. He is physical, intense, and uncomfortable to play against. For Brazil, that matters, because this team will always have attackers who want freedom, full-backs who want to push forward, midfielders who want to create. But behind all of that, someone has to win the ugly battles. Someone has to attack crosses, dominate duels, and make forwards feel every challenge. That is Gabriel's job. And if Brazil wants to go deep in 2026, they will need that kind of edge at the back. Next to Gabriel, Brazil has Marquinhos. And this is where the back line gets something different: leadership. Marquinhos has played in the biggest Champions League nights, carried pressure at PSG, and worn responsibility for Brazil for years. He is not just there to defend. He is there to organize, to communicate, to calm the team when the game starts to become emotional. And that matters for this Brazil side. Because at the World Cup, talent is not enough if the team loses control. Marquinhos understands those moments. After winning the Champions League with PSG against Gabriel's Arsenal, he still went straight to Gabriel after the missed decisive penalty, not to celebrate, but to comfort his Brazil teammate. That is leadership, not just shouting, not just wearing the armband, but knowing when a teammate needs you. And if Brazil wants to survive the pressure of 2026, Marquinhos may be one of the players who keeps this team from falling apart when the tournament gets difficult. On the right side, Brazil can turn to Danilo. At this stage of his career, Danilo is not there to be flashy. He is there to bring experience, discipline, and control in a team full of attacking talent that matters. Brazil does not need every player trying to steal the spotlight. They need players who understand positioning, responsibility, and tournament football. Danilo gives them that. So Brazil's defense has experience, leadership, and power. But if this team is going to control games in 2026, the real battle will happen in midfield. In midfield, Brazil can still rely on Casemiro, and even if he is no longer the youngest player in this team, his role is still easy to understand: experience, leadership, and protection. Casemiro has spent his career playing in the biggest games in world football: Champions League nights, title races, pressure moments where one mistake can change everything. That kind of experience matters at a World Cup, because Brazil has plenty of players who can create magic. But someone still has to do the dirty work. Someone has to break up attacks, win second balls, protect the center backs, and make sure the team does not become too open. That is where Casemiro can still be important. He gives Brazil something this team will need in 2026, not flair, not beauty, but control when the game gets ugly. Bruno Guimarães gives Brazil a different kind of midfield presence: energy, intensity, and progression. Bruno is the kind of midfielder who does not just stand in one place and keep the ball moving sideways. He wants to drive the game forward. He can win duels, carry the ball through pressure, and connect Brazil's defensive structure with their attacking talent. And that is extremely important for this team, because Brazil cannot just rely on moments from Vini, Raphinha, or Neymar. They need someone who can move the ball into dangerous areas before the magic happens. That is where Bruno fits. He brings aggression without being reckless, creativity without forgetting the defensive side. And in a midfield that may need both control and personality, Bruno could become one of Brazil's most important players in 2026. And then, behind Brazil's front three, there is the biggest question of all: Neymar. If Neymar plays as the creative number 10, Brazil suddenly becomes one of the most attacking teams in the tournament. Because now you are not just talking about one or two dangerous forwards. You are talking about a team with Neymar feeding the attack, Vini attacking space, Raphinha moving between defenders, and another forward constantly stretching the back line. That is a lot of talent. Maybe too much talent for most defenses to handle, but it also comes with risk. Because a lineup this attacking needs balance. It needs discipline behind the ball, and it needs Neymar to be more than just a name from the past. Brazil does not need the old Neymar highlight reel. They need a version of Neymar who can still create, still control the rhythm, and still make the final pass when the game gets tight. If he can do that, Brazil's attack becomes scary, not just because of speed, not just because of skill, but because Neymar gives them imagination. And in a World Cup, one moment of imagination can change everything. And if Neymar is the imagination behind the attack, the front three is where Brazil becomes truly dangerous: speed, movement, and players who can destroy a defense in seconds. On the left side, Brazil has their biggest weapon, Vinícius Júnior. For years, Brazil searched for the next player who could carry the pressure of the yellow shirt, and right now that player may be Vini. At Real Madrid, under Carlo Ancelotti, Vinícius became one of the most dangerous attackers in the world. He attacked defenders without fear. He changed games with speed. And he helped Madrid win the Champions League by becoming the kind of player every defense has to plan for. That connection with Ancelotti matters, because Brazil is not just getting a superstar. They are getting a superstar who already knows this coach, a player who has already produced under his system, a player who has already won the biggest club trophy in football with him. And in 2026, Brazil will need that version of Vinícius, not just the highlight player, not just the dribbler, but the decisive player, the player who can take over a knockout game when everything becomes tense. Because if Brazil is going to win the World Cup, Vinícius cannot just be part of the attack. He may have to become the face of it. On the right side, Brazil can use Raphinha, and his value is not only in goals or assists, it is in intensity, movement, and work rate. Raphinha gives Brazil a winger who can attack defenders, cut inside, press aggressively, and keep the tempo high. That matters in a team with Neymar, Vinícius, and so much attacking freedom. Because someone still has to bring structure to the chaos. Someone has to make runs without the ball. Someone has to press when Brazil loses possession. And Raphinha can do that. He may not be the biggest superstar in this attack. But in a World Cup, players like him can become extremely important. Because Brazil will need more than talent. They will need energy. Through the middle, Brazil can use Matheus Cunha, and he gives this attack something very useful: movement, pressure, and work without the ball. Like Raphinha, Cunha can help Brazil press from the front, make defenders uncomfortable, and keep the energy high when possession is lost. He is not just a striker waiting in the box. He can drop deeper, connect with Neymar, open space for Vinícius, and attack gaps when defenders get pulled out of position. For a team this attacking, that kind of movement matters. Because Brazil does not only need players who can create chances, they need players who can help the whole attack function. But all of this talent leads to one final question. Can Carlo Ancelotti actually make it work? Because Brazil does not have a talent problem, they have a structure problem. For years, Brazil has had incredible players, but in the biggest moments, talent alone has not been enough. That is why Ancelotti matters so much. He is not coming in to teach Brazil how to play beautiful football. Brazil already knows beauty. He is coming in to bring calm, balance, and control. Carlo has managed some of the biggest players in football history. He knows how to handle egos. He knows how to survive pressure. And maybe most importantly, he knows how to win without making the game more complicated than it needs to be. With Brazil, that could be exactly what this team needs, because this squad has speed, creativity, experience, and attacking power everywhere. But if Brazil becomes too emotional, too open, or too dependent on individual moments, the same problems can come back again. That is the danger. This team can be beautiful. But beauty does not always win the World Cup. Discipline does. Balance does. Surviving bad moments does. And that is where Carlo could be the difference. So, can Brazil win the 2026 World Cup? Absolutely. They have Alisson in goal, leadership in defense, power and control in midfield, Neymar's imagination, Vinícius Júnior as the face of the attack, and enough speed up front to scare any defense in the tournament. But Brazil's biggest question is not whether they have enough talent. They do. The question is whether Ancelotti can turn that talent into a team. If he can, Brazil will not just be dangerous. They will be one of the teams nobody wants to face in 2026.